Okay, so we will start. Erev Shabbos Kodesh, Erev Parshas Parshas Mishpatim. This week has a very special name besides that it's Shabbos Parshas Mishpatim. We all know it's also Shabbos Shkolim. Shabbos Shkolim is one of the four Arbe Parshios, the four Parshios where the Torah, where the Chachamim were misaking that every week of these four Parshios, besides doing the usual Torah reading of the Parshas HaShavua, we add an additional reading which is related to different things that took place during this time of the year. The first Shabbos, which is this Shabbos, is the Shabbos Shkolim. We all know, everyone knows, Shkolim were a certain type of coin, which is the Machatzis HaShekel, a half a shekel, that had to be given to the Beis HaMikdash in order to be able to buy karbonos, the sacrifices that the Bnei Yisrael brought, that the Yiddish Kindalach brought throughout the year, was bought from these Machatzis HaShekels, from these half a shekels, which basically the korban tamid shel shachar, the korban, the sacrifice that was brought in the morning and the sacrifice that was brought in the afternoon, the two sacrifices which were called the Tamidim, the korban tamid that was brought every single day, was brought from these shkolim that was donated through the Bnei Yisrael. And which time in the year was the donation made? It was made this time of the year, Rosh Chodesh Adar. This is the time when the shluchei Beis Din, the messengers from Beis Din, would go out and they would be ma'ored, they would remind people to give this Machatzis HaShekel, this half a shekel, and each person had an obligation to bring this Machatzis HaShekel. There's a famous Maisa, there's a Maisa that there was, before saying the Maisa, now Shabbos Shkolim is also Shabbos Mevarchim, where we are going to be benching Rosh Chodesh for the month of Adar. In Megillas Esther, towards the end of the Megillah, it says, "V'achodesh asher nehepach," the Chodesh that was turned over, miyogoin, from being sorry to simcha, to exciting time. And the pasuk over there says it's a month, which basically the entire month is a time of simcha. We know, obviously, that Yud Daled Adar, which is 2 weeks into the month of Adar, that is when Purim, when they have this Heilige Yom Tov of Purim. But reading in the Megillah, we see that the entire month of Adar is a month of simcha. So we're entering now a very exciting month, a month which is, as it says in the Megillah, the entire month is a month of simcha, which is a very special time in the year. Now the story goes that there was a person I think it was in Krakow, that the entire month of Adar, he would drink a lot and he would become drunk. And people asked him, why is it that he drinks the entire month of Adar? He said, and it's a beautiful insight which this person had. Obviously, drinking the whole month of Adar is not the way we do it. But the thing that he said was, really, Haman wasn't a stupid, he wasn't an Irish guy, Haman. Haman knew that in order for the Goyish people, for the Gentiles, for the other nations to kill all the Yidden It would take a lot. It wouldn't be only in one day. It would take at least a week or maybe even more. So why is it that the goyrel that he made was for one day? One day, and at the end, it should have been on Yud Daled Adar or Yud Gimel. As we know, Yud Gimel was the day of Shushan Yud Daled, but instead, we overpowered the non-Jewish people, and obviously things turned around. But why is it that he only wanted one day to kill all the Yidden, which is almost impossible? So the answer this person said, which is an amazing answer, he says, Haman was afraid that maybe there'll be a chance that things will turn around bad for the non-Jewish people and good for the Jewish people. So he was saying to himself, if it would be more than one day, are people hearing me? Yeah. If it would have been more than one day that the non-Jewish people would go against the Yidden, so then when it would be even a hapachu, it would be more than one day for us to take revenge on the non-Jewish people, and then it would be more than one day of a Yom Tif. He didn't want the Yidden to have more than one day for him. That's why he, in his bad, wicked way of thinking, he made it only for one day. So this person in Krakow said, because Haman was stingy, he didn't want us to have more than one day. Therefore, I'm not allowed to drink more than that. Which the understanding of it is that the entire month of Adar is a very exciting time. It's a simcha, an exciting time. Going back to Shabbos Mevarchim, which is obviously a very special time, Tzaddikim said, the Heilige Rishon Rebbe said that every week from the 4 weeks of the Dalit Parshiyos has to do with a different letter of Hashem's name. So the Shabbos Mevarchim has to do with the letter Yud, which obviously, if it has to do with Hashem's name, it's something really, really beyond special. Listen to a medrash, Rabbi Bayer. There's an amazing medrash. The medrash says, Omar Moshe LaKadosh Baruch Hu, Moshe said to Hashem, Ribono shel olam hashani meis, when I will be passing, I will be nifter, einani nisker, I wouldn't be mentioned. Omar LaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem said to Moshe, Chayechu, I promise, kishem sha'ata oimid achshav, just like you're standing now. V'noisalem Parshas Shkolim, you're giving over to the Bnei Yisrael the Parsha of Shkolim, of Machatzis HaShekel. V'ata zoikev, and you lift up roisham, their heads, kach b'chol shana v'shana, every single year. Shekoirin oisa lefanai, b'shah, in the time which Parshas Shkolim is being read in Shul. We read the Parsha of Shkolim, as we know, we take out 2 Sifrei Torahs. It's as if Hashem, it's as if Moshe Rabbeinu is standing there, in that time, and he lifts up the head of the Yidden. So let's talk a few minutes about this idea that Moshe Rabbeinu, it's an amazing thing that we see over here in this medrash. We see that Moshe Rabbeinu, Hashem wanted to calm down Moshe. How would it be that he would be remembered even after his passing? The way that Hashem calmed down Moshe Rabbeinu was that every year when we read Parshas Kisisa, which is the Parsha of Machatzis HaShekel, which is obviously a Sefer Shmois, 2 weeks from now, Parshas Kisisa, which talks about Kisisa as Rosh Bnei Yisrael, you would uplift the heads of the Bnei Yisrael. What happens during this time every year when we read this Parsha? Moshe Rabbeinu is actually uplifting us Yidden. So we gotta understand a little and appreciate what is this all about? What is this Zoikev uplifting the heads of the Yidden. What is going on? And even more than this, the Chedush Urim says it's a promise. It's not just a saying. The Chedush Urim says the Medrash is not just Stam Azoy saying that every year this is happening. It's actually a promise. Every single year when you read it, Moshe uplifts our heads. What is this uplifting? What is this whole idea of the uplifting? There's another Medrash. The Medrash says, Moshe Rabbeinu had a problem. He didn't understand what is this whole idea of this Machatzis HaShekel. He didn't understand what is this Machatzis HaShekel. Says the Medrash, you know what Hashem did? Hashem took mitachas kisei hakavod. He took under his kisei hakavod, his heavenly throne. He took a matbea shalesh. He took a coin, a fiery coin, and he showed it to Moshe Rabbeinu. What is going on here? What is it that Moshe didn't understand? And how did the fiery coin that Hashem showed Moshe Rabbeinu answer his lack of understanding? What's going on here? Chazal teach us in Masechtes Chagiga, there are certain ways how we as human beings, we are compared to Malachim, and there are certain ways how we have animalistic part, we have the Bahamias, the part that we are compared to animals. One of the things that the Gemara says, that we are compared to the Malachi Ashores, to the heavenly angels, is that we walk with our body upward. We walk and we have our heads up. Malachi Ashores, the Gemara, walk this way. Behemoths, animals, they're on the floor. They're very close to the ground, very close to the earthy part. we people, and for sure, Am Yisrael, we have the koyach, we have the strength to pick ourselves up, meaning to take our thoughts and to take our action and to lift it and to bring it closer to the Boirei Olam, to the Rebbeinu Shalom. So we have something very unique, which an animal doesn't have. The concept of elevating ourselves, bringing ourselves closer to Hashem, with our gashmias, with our physicality that we have, and elevate ourselves. This is Yitzir Kapov Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is only us people. We have the koiches that we are able to elevate ourselves and bring and elevate all the gashmias, all the animalistic parts to a higher level, closer to Hashem. So this is basically what means Zoikfon. He lifted, Moshe Rabbeinu was Zoikfon. He lifted Roishon Shel Yisrael. It doesn't mean only the head. It means Moshe Rabbeinu beroiv kedushasai, beroiv tzidkasai, with his kedusha and his tzidkis, he took the Yidden to a higher level. He was able to get the Yidden to appreciate the kirvas elikim, to appreciate the closeness to Hashem, that kirvas elikim litoiv. This is what Moshe Rabbeinu's Zoikif Roishon, that he lifted the Yiddish Kepelach. He lifted their whole being, the appreciation of who we are, that we have a Nishmas Alikai, we have a Neshama, we have a Tzelem Elikim. This is what Moshe Rabbeinu brought out from Klal Yisrael. And this is what Moshe Rabbeinu didn't only do during the time, during Parshas Kisisa, during the time when he gave over Parshas Kisisa. Every generation, when we read these psukim, it happens again. Kisisa es roish. It's a time when our head and our whole being as a tzivos Hashem, part of the army of Hashem, we have the koiches to elevate ourselves and to bring ourselves closer. Moshe Rabbeinu asked Hashem, explain to me, what is the main ingredient? In other words, how are we able to elevate ourselves on the highest level possible. Moshe Rabbeinu heard Hashem saying this, that Moshe Rabbeinu would be the ones elevating, but what is the main ingredient how to do this? So Hashem took out a matbeya shel eish under the kisei hakavod. You know how we can elevate ourselves? Moshe, you know how the Bnei Yisrael will elevate themselves? How you would be able to help them to elevate their kapalach, their roshon, and elevate their whole being through matbeya shel eish. It has nothing to do with the physical money, the Machatzis HaShekel. It has to do with the fiery excitement that the Bnei Yisrael had when they gave this donation to the Mishkan, with the fiery excitement that Bnei Yisrael have when they daven, when they learn, when they do mitzvos, and when they go into Shabbos Kodesh, when they sit by a Shabbos Seuda. This matbeya shel eish, this fire that we have, this is what is Zoikev Roshan Shel Yisrael, which elevates Klal Yisrael to become closer. As the Gemara Masechtas Chagiga says, when we as people, we walk like the Malachi Asharis, which is basically elevating all the artzias, all the animalistic parts to Hashem and becoming closer to the Rebbeinu Shalom. And this is something that happens every single year. Every single year, when we are in the time, when we are basically in the time when we are Be'ezras Hashem, in the time of Shabbos Shkolim, we're zoicha that we should have this koyach to be able to uplift ourselves and to become closer to the Rabbeinu Shalom. There's a very interesting Rabbeinu Bachya, which Rabbeinu Bachya says, why is it that we find in this week's Parsha, when the Torah teaches us about the halacha of Shem ve'ayin, which is basically how a Evet Kanani goes out, when an Evet Kanani, his eye and his teeth are being bashed through his master, the Evet Kanani, the Goyish servant, the halacha is that he goes out free. Why is it, says Rabbeinu Bachya, that these two limbs, these two parts, when his teeth and his eyes are bashed, are basically damaged, he goes out free? So the master has to set him free. Why is it? Says Rabbeinu Bachya, he says like this. He says, why is it that unfortunately Canaan, they had a curse from Noach? We all know what happened when Noach came out from the Teva. The first thing he did, he planted a vineyard and he drank wine, and the wine didn't have a good influence on him, and he had to be covered up. And Chum was disrespectful to his father. He gave over to his brothers that the father is is laying over there in a disrespectful way, and so with his mouth he gave it over to his brothers, and with his eyes, obviously, he looked where he shouldn't look. He shouldn't have looked. Now, obviously, in 1 second that he saw it, but afterwards he shouldn't have continued looking. And because of looking in the place that he shouldn't, and because of speaking what he shouldn't have spoken, it says that Noach unfortunately cursed him, Arur Canaan. So says the Rabbeinu Bachya, one of the Rishonim, he says, the whole reason why an Evet Kanani is being an Evet Kanani, he has to work for his master, is only because of his great-great-great-grandfather's lack of speech. He wasn't careful with what he said and how he said it, and with a lack of his eyes, of using his eyes in an inappropriate way. Says Rabbeinu Bachya, when the Evet Kanani, when he is his eyes are being poked out, and his teeth are being basically broken out. He goes free. Why? Because if he now got the message that his eyes and his teeth is very valuable, he now could be set free. I want to share with the Olam a very interesting thought from one of the Talmidei Baal Shem Tov, which has to do with this week's Parsha. Last week in Parshas Yisro, everyone knows, was Kabbalas HaTorah. The Yidden accepted the Torah. Hashem gave the Aseres HaDibros. Right coming out from Parshas Yisro, the first halacha is that the Torah talks about is about acquiring a servant. The Torah gets into a lot of halachas. If you get a Yiddish servant, you could only have him for 6 years. And the Torah goes through the whole entire, many halachas. From a simplistic point of view, it's a little bit of a interesting connection over here. In other words, the Bnei Yisrael were in such a high while they received the Torah. The Torah was given with thunder and lightning, and it was done on a way that they were 3 days of preparation. They prepared themselves. They were in such a high. And now in Parshas Mishpatim, the Psukim start dealing with very physical halachas, laws that have to do with a lot of physicality. How a person deals with a neighbor, so many different halachas, which has to do with a physical welt. So it seems like a big contrast from Parshas Yisro into Parshas Mishpatim. Even more so, asked the Talmidei Baal Shem, at the end of Parshas Mishpatim, which is something that people don't talk a lot about, the Torah actually goes back, according to Rashi, to the time before Matan Torah, before Hashem gave the Torah. At the end of the Parsha, the Torah talks about things that happened before Hashem gave the Torah. So it's a very interesting thing. Before Parshas Mishpatim, Kabbalas HaTorah. After that, we go into the different halachas, which are very physical, and then we go back to Kabbalas HaTorah. Another very interesting thing, everyone knows that the Bnei Yisrael said Nasa v'nishma, but people don't chap that the Bnei Yisrael didn't say Nasa v'nishma right away. In the beginning, they only said Nasa. It was only later, after Moshe Rabbeinu wrote a Sefer Torah. It says at the end of Parshas Mishpatim, Moshe Rabbeinu wrote a Sefer Torah. Vayichtov Moshe wrote a Kol Divrei Hashem. He wrote the entire Torah till Kabbalas HaTorah. From Bereshis till the Aseres HaDibros, Moshe Rabbeinu wrote in a Sefer Torah. And he also says Rashi wrote the Sheva mitzvos b'nei Noach and the mitzvahs of Shabbos, the halachas of Shabbos. He wrote in a Sefer Torah. After writing it in a Sefer Torah, that's when the Bnei Yisrael now said, Nase v'nishma. They announced both the Nase and the Nishma. Why? Why till then? Till when Moshe Rabbeinu? Let me say it again because it's a very interesting thing. So again, at the end of Parshas Mishpatim, the Torah goes back to the things that happened before Hashem gave the Torah. And over there in the beginning, it says the Bnei Yisrael only said Nasa. And afterwards, it says they said Nasa v'nishma. Why? What is going on here? So say the Talmidei Baal Shem Tov. We know that Avraham Avinu and all the Avos HaKadoshim, they were Mekayim, they fulfilled the Torah even before giving the Torah. It's a well-known thing, everyone knows this. Avraham Avinu, he kept the entire Torah. And the reason and how did the Avos HaKadoshim, How were they able to know what mitzvah to do and what aveira not to do? Because their body was on such a high level. They purified their body on such a high level that their body automatically told them, or whatever their body, when it was a mitzvah, the body actually moved and did the mitzvah. If it wasn't a mitzvah, automatically it stopped. So the body was trained because of purifying themselves. By a mitzvah, it moves forward. When it's chas v'sholom and aveira, it stops. We Yidden, we're not always on this level. We're not on the level of the Ovos HaKdoshim. Pesach night, one of the things that we say in the Haggadah, we say Dayenu. One of the parts in Dayenu that we say, Ilu karvonu lifnei har Sinai. If Hashem would have brought us close to the Har Sinai, and Hashem wouldn't have given us the Torah, Dayenu, it would have been enough. It would have been enough to come to Har Sinai and not receive the Torah? That's a very strange thing. We know that the Torah, there's nothing like Ein simcha katoira. There's nothing like the Torah. Ein kedusha katoira. So what are we saying in the Haggadah? The answer is, we're saying, if we would have been able to tap into these levels, like Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, which they were able to tap in to appreciate what is a mitzvah and what is an aveira, even without the Torah, it would have been enough. But now that Hashem did give us the Torah, al achas kama v'kama, we have to be so grateful. We have to all appreciate that the Torah, says the Talmidei Baal Shem Tov, the oisius HaTorah, the letters of the Torah have an enormous kedusha. At the end of the day, not everyone is on the level of the Ovos HaKdoshim. Actually, no one. No one is on the level of like Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. We don't have the capability to just be able to elevate ourselves to the level that our body should, on its own, should only do the mitzvos and chas v'sholom not do the averos. We're not on this level. So Hashem gave us the Torah that even without being on the level like Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, the Torah, the oisius HaTorah is so powerful that by reading the words in the Torah, it's not just when we read the words in the Torah, when we learn the halachos, that a person shouldn't speak Lashon Hara. We won't speak Lashon Hara because of the halach of Lashon Hara. No. Say the Talmidei Baal Shem Tov, there's something much deeper happening. When we learn certain halachos, the learning itself, because the learning is oisius HaTorah, it's letters of the Torah, it purifies us, and it gives us a siyata d'shmaya, help from above, that we should be able to do the mitzvah the appropriate way, and we shouldn't chas v'sholom do an aveira. So by learning Torah, not only that we know the halachos, there's a certain kedusha in every letter in the Torah, which gives us a huge koyach to be able to be Yidden, to be oivdei Hashem, and to go in the ways of Hashem. Therefore, when it comes to Simchas Torah, we are so excited and we dance with the Torah. Why is it that Simchas Torah, we are so excited? The answer is because we finished the entire Chamisha Chumsha Torah. And we're basically thanking Hashem that we were zoicha to learn these letters of the Torah, to learn these psukim in the Torah. And by learning these psukim in the Torah, it will give us the koyches, the strength to be able to overcome the challenges and to be able to do mitzvahs and to overcome the challenges of chas v'sholom doing an aveira. So listen, Rabbi Isai, to a fascinating thought which the Talmidei Baal Shem Tov say. Till Moshe Rabbeinu didn't write down the Parshios on a cloth in a sefer, there was a certain lack that the Yidden were still lacking. They were only able to say nasa, we will do. But nishma, say the Talmid Baal Shem Tov, means to appreciate. Shema means, in Yiddish you say it, der Herrn. It means not only listening, to understand and appreciate in a deeper way. That's nishma. To appreciate in a deeper way the strength that a mitzvah has, we only are able to appreciate once we have a Sefer Torah and the words are written in the Sefer Torah. When we have the Sefer Torah and the words are written in the Sefer Torah, we appreciate that there's something way more than the actual mitzvah itself going on. There's the siyata d'shmaya that we have. So if you look in the psukim, and this is something so beautiful, if you look in the psukim at the end of the Parsha, and again, it's the end of the Parsha, so most of the time, these psukim already like, we run it by. We don't put a lot of attention. So at the end, it says like this, two psukim that I'll mention over here. One pasuk it says, first it says in Pasuk Gimel, Perek Chavdal, Pasuk Gimel, it says, Moshe came and he gave over to the Bnei Yisrael. He told them with his mouth, with his heilige mouth, he told them all the different laws that Hashem told him. And everyone, all the Yidden said Nase. But it wasn't yet written down in a Sefer Torah. The next pasuk it says, Vayichtov Moshe. Moshe wrote as told Divrei Hashem. He wrote it down, and Rashi says he wrote it in a Sefer Torah from Bereshis up until Kabbalah SaTorah, and also the mitzvahs of Shabbos that they got in Mora before Matan Torah. He wrote in a Sefer. He wrote it down. When the Yidden learned it from a Sefer, say the Talmid Baal Shem, that's when the Yidden were so motivated, and they were able to say, as it says further on in Pasuk Zayin, they said, "The Koila Shadiber Hashem Naaseh v'Nishma." Now they appreciated that there's something more, way deeper going on than the actual doing itself. It's not only the doing, the nasa, there's a nishma, there's a deeper appreciation, a deeper understanding what's going on. What do we see from all this? We see the koyach, the strength of just reading words in a Sefer Torah. When we go through the Parshios of the Torah, reading it is a certain strength that we get from reading the Parshas in the Torah, which we don't have before we read these Parshios. We all know this. It says from the Rizal that when you make Hagbah, when a person picks up the Torah, he turns the Torah around, and you should look on the letters of the Torah. When you look on the letters of the Torah, it gives you a light. It brings a light for a person. It shines a light to a person by looking on the letters of the Torah. And when a person has an aliyah, and you look in, and you see the words of the Torah, it has a koyach. The koyachis of a yid learning Torah is way, way, way more than just giving over the Torah if it's Torah Shabbat Peh. Therefore, we all know there's halacha, Devarim shebiksav, the Torah shebiksav, meaning the written Torah, efshar la'imram bal peh. We can't say it bal peh, we can't say it by heart. Because the words that Moshe Rabbeinu wrote, the words that we write in a Sefer Torah, we dafka need to say these words. By saying these words, we get an extra boost, so to say, of siyata d'shmaya to be able to do the mitzvos and to be able to overcome challenges that come our way. Finishing, just to say one more word before finishing. As I mentioned before, Parshas Shkolim is all the Dalet Parshios are very unique and special. Obviously, we have throughout the year, we have so many special times, but we have to use every special time with its own uniqueness. The Chartkever Rebbe, which was the son of the Rizhiner Rebbe, which was a great-great-grandson of the Maggid of Mezrich, he says, when we read the Parsha of Shkolim in Shul, Shabbos day, it's a time that besides what I said before, that it's a time that we were zoikiv, we uplift, we have the ability to uplift ourselves closer to Hashem. He says it's also a time when there's big shefa of parnasa that comes into the world. And usually Shabbos is not a time to daven for parnasa, but without saying it outward, it's a time that we should keep in mind, he says, while the reading of the Parsha takes place in Shul, to also daven in our brain, so to say, to Hashem, that we should have shefa, we should have parnasa, we should have, obviously with parnasa, we should have nachas from our kindalach, we should be able to give, to support our family, pay tuition, and as we have so many things that we need to do with our money. To conclude this year, it's a famous, everyone knows this word about Machatzis. Why was the shekel half? Because we always have to think about another person. We always have to think about ourselves like we're half. We never reach shleimus, we never reach completion. We have to appreciate that we always have what to work on. In Shul by Musaf, we say, Oyer Panecha, the light of the face of Hashem should again shine with the binyan, with the rebuilding of the Beis HaMikdash, and we should be Zoiche v'Shekel Esa. We should be able to give again the Machatzis HaShekel. It's a very interesting expression that we say in the Piyutim, in the Yotzris, in the additional part that we add in Musaf, which is Oyer Panecha, the shine of the face of Hashem. It's a very unusual. The shine of Hashem's face should shine on us with the rebuilding of the Beis HaMikdash. One of the big tzaddikim that passed away a few years ago was Reb Chaim Brim. I heard it from him quite a few times. I was able to hear it from him quite a few times. He used to speak, and he used to say, he spoke before Shabbos Shkolim, and he used to say, if a person wants to appreciate what is this Or Panecha, what is this shine which we say in the davening, the shine of Hashem should be shining upon us. V'shekel esa b'bayis ram v'nisa. What is this? So he says, in the last bracha nishmeina esrei, we say the same exact words. Kibo Or Panecha nasata lanu. With the shine of your face, you gave to us Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem our Hashem, you gave to us Toiras Chayim, a Torah of life, V'havas Chesed, the love of Chesed, Utzdoko, Uvracha, V'rachamim, V'chayim, V'sholem, V'chol Toiv. So he says, what are we saying over here? We're saying that with the shine of Hashem, all the goodness is showered upon us. You gave us so much good. You gave us the Torah. You gave us kindness. You gave us bracha and rachmim and chayim and shalom, life and peacefulness. So we see the shine of Hashem has so much that it comes within the shine of Hashem. So this Shabbos, when we're going to say and the Yotzis and Musaf, we say, Oyer Panecha, Aleinu Adonai Yisrael, you should shine the shine of your face on us. There's so much goodness that is going to come with this, and we should all have the schus to appreciate what we have, and we should be able to feel this closeness of Kivras Elokim Litoiv. We should feel this upwardsness of Zikifas Roish, of our heads going up like the Malachi Asharis, and not fall in Chas v'Sholem into the Bahamias, into the earthiness, and into the Gashmias. And we should all be zoicha to appreciate the Heilige Torah with its words of the Torah. Bebias Mashiach Tzidkenu B'mheira B'yomeinu. Amen.